Part 36. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 351. The second branch of the uniform series is the professional uniform branch. This branch is the true origin of the uniform beast. The founder of Xiaoming's school of uniform beasts is not Xiaoming himself, but his good friend Zhang Wen. Before the start of the Magic Planet game, Xiaoming had a weak source of energy, and Zhang Wen also had a very primitive mind ability at that time. His mind ability is the uniform beast. Xiaoming's mind ability is actually imitated from Zhang Wen. Xiaoming has been sitting on the source energy for nearly 40 years, but has made no achievements. He just uses the source energy as an emergency measure. Zhang Wen can create his own beast when the supernatural energy is extremely meager and he has not received any teaching. This fat man is a real talent. In terms of creativity, Zhang Wen is several levels higher than Xiaoming. Of course, only Xiaoming, who is a 13, can really carry forward this ability. Alas, where can I go to reason? The essential difference between the two brothers is the amount of energy. The difference between a roadside stall and a multinational corporation. Zhang Wen's total amount of telekinesis simply cannot support him to develop too many types of uniform telekinesis beasts. Not to mention giving them powerful abilities. Zhang Xiaoming is different. His energy is almost inexhaustible. Don't develop it too easily. Professional Uniform Branch. The image and ability of the series of uniforms imitate various professions in modern society. They are often matched with stockings. It highlights the youthful beauty of women in the new era and also reflects their ability to hold up half the sky. Of course, it also satisfies men's aesthetic preferences. Most professional uniforms have special abilities and props, but do not have combat power bonuses. Now let's take a closer look. Teacher, dark blue uniform, hip skirt, black stockings. Ability is teaching and scientific research. Matching props, a textbook, scientific research props. Teachers can put the items that need to be analyzed into the textbook. After the analysis is completed, some information about the item will be obtained. After the analysis, the item disappears. Matching props, B-pointer, teaching props. People wearing teacher uniforms and holding pointers have improved their ability to teach others. Student, white shirt, black skirt, white stockings matches with teacher uniforms, and has the ability to learn. Matching props, notebooks, learning props. People wearing student uniforms and holding notebooks have improved their ability to learn anything. Can be used to activate a combination skill, private tutor. The premise of the combination skill, both parties must be willing and understand the rules of this ability. Otherwise, the ability cannot be activated. The process of activating the combination skill, one person wears a teacher uniform and the other wears a student uniform. The teacher will teach the student a designated skill or knowledge. The condition for the end of the combination skill, when the student learns the skill or knowledge, the skill ends naturally. The standard for learning is that the student can barely use the skill, or master 30% of the teacher's knowledge. In fact, the requirements are not very high. The characteristics of the combination skill are that both parties wear uniforms and hold props. With the combination, the teaching efficiency will be increased to 3-5 times the usual. The effect on uniform control is stronger. The biggest limitation of the combination skills is, you must learn it. Before the designated skills or knowledge are taught, the private tutor cannot be stopped. Xiaoming himself cannot cancel it. You must know that it takes a certain amount of time to teach skills. The teacher's teaching ability, the proficiency of skills, the qualifications of students, etc. will affect the teaching time. If the teacher still cannot teach the student before Xiaoming's ability to give the uniform is exhausted, both the teacher and the student will suffer serious backlash. Fortunately, although Xiaoming cannot be stopped, he can continue to charge the uniforms of both parties. given Xiaoming's strong energy and the source energy as a backing. Xiaoming himself should not encounter this situation. But other users are hard to say. Therefore, the skills or knowledge designated by the private tutor should be more reliable. Otherwise, it is also very dangerous. As a new generation of Chinese people who have been deeply influenced by the Chinese education system and have participated in the middle school entrance examination and college entrance examination, Xiaoming's desire for abilities such as teaching is simply deep in his bones. In the past, Xiaoming envied those students who studied well and were very smart. At the same time, I also hope that my teacher is a good teacher with outstanding teaching ability. The development of the two uniforms of teachers and students, as well as the combination of private tutors, is also to make up for the regrets of the past. Nurse, white uniform, white stockings ability to restore life, massage to relieve fatigue. Xiaoming did not do much development on this beast imitating Zhang Wen. Instead, it basically maintained the original state, only improving the treatment effect. Speaking of which, nurses and doctors can definitely become a powerful uniform combination. But Xiaoming's accumulation in medicine is not enough. Besides, he has also seen MO surgery. He feels more about the poverty of his own knowledge. So Xiaoming does not plan to rashly develop this uniform beast for the time being. Lest he draw a tiger but draw a dog. Maid, black and white uniform, black stockings ability to take care of and serve at home. Including cleaning, washing clothes, cooking, serving tea and water, etc. The development of this ability is purely because Xiaoming himself is too lazy. Xiaoming devoted all his energy to improving the operating capabilities of this mind beast, and also spared no expense in equipping it with a large number of household tools for use. It seems that Xiaoming is planning to be a young master who has everything he wants. In addition, there is a little intention of using it to show off. Speaking of showing off, the next uniform is more useful in this regard. No matter who it is, as long as there is a butler standing next to him and a few maids surrounding him to serve him, he should be quite prominent, right? Butler, black uniform, black stockings. The butler's ability is the most frequently used by Xiaoming. They are responsible for opening Xiaoming's personal space, Guangmingding. By the way, with the stability of Xiaoming's energy network, Guangmingding has now expanded to more than 400 cubic meters. However, its expansion this time has basically come to an end. Of course, Guangmingding will continue to expand a little bit every day. Because Xiaoming continues to practice every day, the energy network is still growing slowly. The butler space must naturally keep up with the pace. When Xiaoming developed the butler uniform, his purpose was to develop a space ability. In addition, the butler has no other special abilities. It will not really help Xiaoming manage household affairs. But when it stood beside Xiaoming, it really had the demeanor of a housekeeper. In the future, we can consider training it into a management-type mind beast. Xiaoming's large number of mind beasts do need a manager. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 352. Which, all black uniform and stockings ability to study supernatural energy. Strictly speaking, the witch uniform belongs to the fantasy world, not the common professional uniform in modern society. Xiaoming originally developed this uniform beast to study the undead army in the game. During the years trapped in the Xianjian world, he occasionally released it to conduct research and transformation experiments on the undead army under his command. However, Xiaoming's focus has always been on the insect-human side, so there are not many achievements in the witch uniform, but only accumulated a certain amount of experience. During this retreat, Xiaoming expanded the scope of witch research and let it help him study various supernatural energy systems. Reporter, all gray share Xiaoming's vision record all the sound and other information that Xiaoming sees. Matching props, camera. Its function is to store, edit, and play various video materials recorded by the reporter. Originally, Xiaoming wanted to cancel this uniform. It was developed before because Xiaoming's mental strength was not enough. With only his own brain, Xiaoming could not process so much information in time. Therefore, he needed the help of reporters to record the information first. Then he could replay it and conduct research and analysis when he had time. During that period, replaying the battle scenes occupied a large proportion of Xiaoming's daily life. Now that Xiaoming's mental power has skyrocketed, this problem no longer exists. Xiaoming can completely remember the information with his mental power. The reporter has become dispensable. If it had not found a new meaning of existence, it would probably be cancelled during this retreat. The new meaning of the reporter's existence is shooting and playing small movies. Serving the insects and monsters in the locking demon tower. Since Xiaoming had a shadow clone, he developed a business in the locking demon tower that copied various cartoons and film and television dramas from Pangu Star. It was widely welcomed by the insects and monsters. The most important thing is that Xiao Xiao likes it. This business has greatly strengthened the cohesion and centripetal force of Xiaoming's subordinates. But it also has great side effects, and Xiaoming can't bear it. After each performance, the feeling would return to Xiaoming. Performing once or twice was okay, performing 8 or 10 times was a bit tiring. After dozens or hundreds of times, Xiaoming was so bored that he wanted to vomit blood. Thinking of having to perform hundreds or thousands of times in the future, wouldn't he want to die? This was not Xiaoming's original intention. If it was cultivation or scientific research, each shadow clone would bring some progress to the original body. In this case, Xiaoming could accept the accompanying fatigue. Even accept it happily. There is gain if there is effort. However, this group of shadow clones who are actors are different. They only bring Xiaoming a heavy psychological burden. There is a little sense of accomplishment. If Xiaoming still has a dream of becoming a star, the acting career in the locking demon tower is a dream come true. Every shadow clone who is an actor is also honing his acting skills for the original body. Xiaoming will be very pleased to bear that hardship. It can be imagined that Xiaoming can also quickly hone his acting skills to the level of a movie emperor. It is easy to get a nickname like the Thousand Faces movie emperor. It is a pity that Xiaoming has no interest in acting. So these shadow clones are just mechanically repeating the same thing. That little bit of pleasure and sense of accomplishment is insignificant. If this continues, Xiaoming's collapse is just around the corner. In a hurry, he thought of the uniform reporter, this mind beast that had not seen the light of day for a long time. He gave it a new prop camera. Finally, he rescued himself from the dire straits. This also reminded Xiaoming. Using multiple shadow clones will inevitably bring burdens to oneself. Mental and physical fatigue, accumulated, is really not fun. It is still necessary to relax and stop at the right time. Don't think too highly of your physical and mental qualities. When Xiaoming first learned multiple shadow clones, he was really a little blindly confident. Xiaoming believes that shadow clones must be used in places where they are valuable, and physical and mental fatigue must be exchanged for corresponding benefits. As for some things that are of no value to oneself, they can be completed with other abilities. Mind ability is one of the options. In each future film and television work, Xiaoming only needs to perform once with a shadow clone. The reporter recorded it and played it everywhere. In fact, Xiaoming also had an idea that he could develop a full set of mind beasts such as directors, screenwriters, actors, prop masters, and makeup artists. They could produce various works. However, considering that the number of mind beasts required was too large, his own mind power could not afford it. He quickly gave up this idea. Xiaoming himself could not perform, and the film and television works performed by his shadow clones were far from the original. Classic movies can be interpreted as unsatisfactory works by shadow clones. Fortunately, the insect humans and monsters have never seen the world, so they can watch it. Besides, they have no choice, just watch it. I have to say that Xiaoming, the insect king, tisk tisk, is really heartless. Game goddess, virtual light and shadow. The function is to let people enter the Magic Planet game matching props, virtual helmet. In real society, it is very common for beautiful stars to promote and endorse games. It's just that there is no uniform style in this industry. Xiaoming simply set the game goddess as a virtual image, which gives a stronger sense of technology. If the goddess of games is only responsible for logging into the Magic Planet game, it is really a waste of talent. Xiaoming made a game for the goddess of games. Since he is not capable of writing large games for the time being, so Xiaoming made small or medium-sized games. It can't even be said to be production, in fact, it is just plagiarizing the secret realm of the Magic Planet. So the insect humans and monsters are blessed again, they will see the ninth art of mankind, games. Now the small games that the goddess of games can let people play are, Arctic Ice, Finger Attack, Squirrel War, Knights of the Round Table. These are the secret realm games that Xiaoming is more familiar with. Others will be added slowly later. You can't make too many games at once, which consumes a lot of mental power. In the branch of professional uniforms, there are still many projects that can be developed. But Xiaoming stopped there. Just enough. He just improved and strengthened the original uniforms. In fact, the newly added professional uniforms are only school uniforms. Because this branch is not the focus of Xiaoming's retreat this time. Xiaoming's main purpose is to develop more types of combat uniforms. This allows the skill multiple uniforms shadow clone to be fully utilized. Special forces, police, agents, and stealth uniforms are all classified as combat uniforms. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 353. Xiaoming's uniform series of mind beasts are essentially sets of clothes. It's just that these clothes are endowed with certain energy and special skills. Wearing uniforms can temporarily allow people to use the various abilities carried by the clothes. It doesn't matter if no one wears them. With the initial energy, they can also move on their own for a period of time. In terms of style, even in modern society, the shame level of these uniforms is too high. It is estimated that only legendary creatures like girlfriends would be willing to wear uniforms for Xiaoming. The point is that Xiaoming has no girlfriend, otherwise how can it be called a legendary creature? From another perspective, if he had a girlfriend, Xiaoming would not have such a strong obsession and would create such uniform mind beasts. The sadness of otakus. The professional uniform branch does not belong to the battle sequence. They are mainly special effects and do not have too strong strength. They are only at the strength of level 1. The Beastman Girl branch belongs to the battle sequence. And because they simulate monsters, they are relatively powerful. The strength is around level 3. There is another branch belonging to the battle sequence, which Xiaoming named Battle Uniform Branch. They simulate certain occupations in modern society that involve fighting. So their strength is between the other two, about level 2. And among them, there are also differences in strength, with the Special Forces uniform being the strongest. It is almost level 3. The other types are only around level 2. But they all have their own special features. Special Forces, Camouflage, all-round warrior uniform master a certain degree of firearms technology, fighting technology, driving technology, and martial arts technology. The origin of the Special Forces uniform is to simulate Brother Zhu Xingxiu. He, Xiaoming, met a retired Special Forces soldier near the game studio. He has a good character. Firearms technology and fighting technology were paid to learn from Brother Zhu. Xiaojing also joined in the fun and learned a few times. Driving technology and various martial arts were downloaded into Xiaoming's brain in the world of the Matrix. So they were also partially endowed with Special Forces uniforms. This makes the combat effectiveness of Special Forces quite comprehensive. Combined with telekinesis, the strength of any Special Forces beast can easily beat Brother Zhu Xingxiu. The style of the Special Forces uniform is not very sexy, and the basic tone is still the camouflage uniform in the army. Xiaoming developed it slightly in the direction of close-fitting, just for the sake of meaning. In addition, the Special Forces uniform ate a defective product and upgraded to level 2 smoke fruit. One of the Special Forces uniforms has the ability to turn the head of the wearer into smoke to avoid the enemy's attack. It's not surprising to see it in a hurry. At the very least, it can make the opponent terrified, giving you an opportunity to take advantage of it. Too wretched. Police, blue uniform skirt, black long boots master a certain degree of firearms technology and fighting technology. Matching props, punishment collar. Its function has been explained in detail before, chapter 2199, so I won't repeat it here. Agent, black suit, black silk master a certain degree of firearms technology, fighting technology, driving technology, martial arts technology, hacking technology. The combat power is lower than that of Special Forces, but the technology they master is more comprehensive. And they have also eaten quick-cut fruit and imitation fruit. Because the work of agents requires blending into the crowd, their clothing styles cannot attract attention. So they will appear more ordinary. Invisibility, colorless tights. The combat power is equivalent to that of agents. The ability is invisibility. The advantages brought by invisibility are needless to say. Moreover, the invisibility of this uniform is equivalent to forced invisibility. Not only in the image, but also in the sound, smell, and other aspects. Even ordinary supernatural powers are difficult to detect. Xiaoming's previous ability Absolute can eliminate his own sense of existence. The ability of the invisible uniform is a step higher than Absolute. Everyone can see at a glance that these combat uniforms are not prepared for large-scale wars. There is undead magic on the battlefield. In fact, there are not many reincarnations who will prepare for large-scale wars. Even S-level reincarnations generally do not have such a need. Combat uniform beasts are more suitable for small-scale battles, battles in complex environments, in other words, battles in cities. Therefore, close combat ability accounts for a large proportion of their abilities. And they are also familiar with hot weapons and can use them at any time. But Xiaoming did not give them special hot weapons. Xiaoming has other plans for the research and development of hot weapons. The appearance of spark fragments and transformers gave Xiaoming inspiration. He can use telekinesis to build his own transformers core. Of course, it is impossible for Xiaoming to create transformers with souls by himself. There is no technology at all, and he must rely on spark fragments. However, Chu Daipao reminded Xiaoming that transformers activated by spark fragments may not necessarily stand in the camp of the reincarnationists. Only the follower contract using space can be safe. But follower contracts are also very expensive. For ordinary reincarnationists, the contract of a few followers is the limit. Only the telekinetic ability users of the materialization system can easily bypass this limitation. This is what Chu Daipao did. Use the telekinesis of the reincarnationist to materialize the machine and then activate it as a transformer. This new transformer must belong to the reincarnationist. Xiaoming plans to develop in this direction. Develop the transformer series of mind beasts. This ability definitely does not belong to the uniform series. In the world of the Matrix 1, Xiaoming once learned, downloaded, basic mechanical manufacturing skills. He can independently manufacture some simple firearms. But he is not yet able to independently manufacture vehicles, let alone airplanes, tanks, and cannons. However, if there is a suitable object at hand, Xiaoming can imitate it as long as the technology is not particularly advanced. His circle and condensation can see through the detailed structure of the machine. If he really doesn't understand it, he can also use the ability of mind to make some small details pass. Xiaoming really wants to make a cool one first, such as an armed helicopter. Unfortunately, there is no object to refer to. Besides, the helicopter may be a bit beyond the scope. Even if there is a real object, Xiaoming is probably still unable to handle it. Let's start with simple things first. In the world of Underworld 1, Xiaoming exchanged an armed bulletproof car from the vampire forces. Originally, he was going to use it as a means of transportation, but who knew that he came to the world of Chinese Paladin 1. Here, using an armed bulletproof car as a means of transportation? Is he out of his mind? So, for 5 years, this bulletproof car has been sleeping in Xiaoming's Guangmingding. It never sees the sun, so pitiful. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 354. It took Xiaoming half a month to materialize this armored bulletproof vehicle with his mind ability. In order to ensure the combat effectiveness of the armored bulletproof vehicle, Xiaoming first thoroughly modified the original one. The bulletproof armor was strengthened. The armor material is made of the material of the aircraft used by humans in the alien world of Mars. Xiaoming got the sample from the irreparable wreckage. This alloy material used in the space field is relatively light and very tough. You should know that there are drifting pebbles, ice cubes, and other objects everywhere in space. They are very small and not easy to be found, so it is difficult for spacecraft to avoid them in advance. This also makes them very dangerous. Because the relative speed is too high, their impact will cause far more destructive power than bullets or even artillery shells. Therefore, the materials used to build spacecraft, especially the materials of the armor part, must be very tough. Generally, they are specially made alloy materials, which are quite expensive. However, Xiaoming has alchemy. As long as he understands the composition of this alloy material, Xiaoming can make it directly. Therefore, the defense of the modified armored bulletproof vehicle is greatly improved and the weight is greatly reduced. Originally, the armored bulletproof car was not heavy, just a few tons, but now it is 30% lighter. The transformable range of the fire source fragments is 100 tons. It seems a bit wasteful. It seems that Xiaoming can add as many accessories as possible to the bulletproof car. It is more cost-effective to activate it once. However, if it is too complicated, it will be difficult to imitate it with telekinesis. So Xiaoming stopped modifying the bulletproof car. The new armed bulletproof car, about 6 meters long, 2 meters wide, 2 meters high, and a total weight of 5 tons. It is driven by hacker energy blocks. The power is strong and lasting. It is equipped with 2 energy sniper rifles, 8 energy submachine guns, 20 energy pistols, and 8 energy shields. The embodiment of such a car can arm 1 or 2 combat teams. The rebel mecha Xiaoqia, because it is difficult to find a suitable machine for transformation on Mars, is bored and uses the modified armored bulletproof car as the object of transformation. During Xiaoming's retreat, the last project was this car. Now he can successfully manifest an armed bulletproof car. After materializing, it is still a car, and it still needs people to drive it. The weapons inside also need people to use them. Before it became a transformer, it was just a machine. It took another 2 months to activate it as a transformer. As Chu Depeo said, it automatically became Xiaoming's subordinate. The bulletproof car King Kong is also a 5th-level existence like Xiaoqia. It is not much inferior to the sea-level reincarnation. And it is more threatening. The main reason is that their energy weapons and energy shields are too strong. This is the result of Xiaoming not developing energy cannons. Among the two of them, Xiaoqia is a little stronger. his energy weapon is equivalent to a more powerful heavy machine gun. This is attached when Xiong leaves the factory, and Xiaoming will not manufacture it for the time being. However, the development of the Transformers series has temporarily stagnated. There is no suitable machine for materialization. Xiaoming will definitely not make several similar telekinetic transformers. There is not so much telekinetic potential to waste. After this, Xiaoming's work focus will return to the development of insect humans. The demon locking tower and the cockroaches on Mars have created a great opportunity for the development of the insect human race. It will be difficult to encounter such an opportunity again in the future. Xiaoming also wanted to see what the insect human race would look like when it developed to the extreme. So he strengthened his conquest in the demon locking tower and Mars. With Xiaoming's loser character, the so-called strengthening is just a little bit of effort. He will never go all out. Green Xiaoming and Silver Xiaoming spend 48 hours together every day, and more than half of them are spent playing with Xiao Xiao'er. Xiao Xiao'er also likes the two big guys very much. With Xiao Xiao'er as the center, Xiaoming, Zhangzhong, Xiao Xia, Xiao Hong, Xiao Lu, Bulletproof Car King Kong, some insect people, some monsters, and other various idle people gathered. Xiaoming handed over the work of foreign wars, his own cultivation, and internal scientific research and production to the uniform shadow clones. Time passed day by day in these leisurely and busy days. After another 3 months, the fire source fragments were recharged again. At this time, Mao Mao Er's body, hot-blooded Neza, has been accelerated by Xiaoming to expand into a sealed armor covering the whole body. Its image can refer to Marvel's Iron Man. Although Xiaoming has not heard of this name. But this does not prevent him from developing something similar. It's just that Xiaoming's full body armor has 2 head armors, and the other one is for Mao Mao's own head. Human fruit. Xiaoming used the fire source fragments to transform hot-blooded Neza. But it seems to have no effect. In terms of soul, Mao Mao already has it. There is no need to give it a new soul. In terms of transformation, the material of hot-blooded Neza is liquid metal. You can change into anything you want, and you really don't need this ability. However, the energy emitted by the fire source fragments is still absorbed by Mao Mao. And Mao Mao's life energy has also increased a lot. The total amount of hot-blooded Neza's telekinesis has also increased a lot. It is equivalent to being strengthened once. Xiaoming saw the bargain, and after another 3 months, when he wanted to use the fire source to strengthen Mao Mao again, it was obviously impossible. The rules of action of this fire source fragment are similar to his own source energy. Xiaoming suddenly had an idea and stuffed the fire source into the textbook in the teacher's uniform for analysis. Analysis of the genetic information of flesh and blood life has always been done by the insect king relying on the instinct of the Zerg. As for non-flesh and blood, Xiaoming usually puts them in the textbook of mind ability for research. More than a year later, Xiaoming has been on Mars for 2 years. He has been locked in the demon locking tower for 7 years since he entered the Xianjian world. In the plot of Mars Alien, there is a plot character named Red in the Chinese team. Her MO ability is a bacterial virus ability. The Insect King got some of her blood samples that year, absorbed them, and only then successfully integrated this ability. Xiaoming has the ability to release a large number of bacterial viruses that can be transmitted through the air and can be infected by skin contact. The released virus can kill most creatures below level 4. Because the T-virus is integrated into it, the creatures killed by the virus will become zombies and attack all living things. And because Xiaoming has also integrated the antidote for the T-virus, Xiaoming can also release the antidote to kill the virus. The zombies will die. This virus is temporarily named Mars virus. It is a real weapon of mass destruction. It is better not to use it casually. People with special abilities or wearing protective clothing and masks can avoid this kind of damage. Of course, this virus is still ineffective against Zerg and undead. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 355. Since the characters and the reincarnationists left Mars, Mars has suddenly become much quieter. There are also fewer battles. The strong ones among the cockroaches are nicknamed abbots because of the dots on their foreheads. If there are several dots, they are called abbots with several stars. In fact, only a part of the abbots appear in the plot, but there are actually quite a few abbots among the cockroaches on Mars. Many of these abbots died within this month. Most of those killed by the characters were killed by the reincarnationists. The threat of the cockroaches on Mars to the reincarnationists depends entirely on numbers, and the strongest abbot is only the strength of the 4th level. The lowest reincarnationists are all sea level, that is, the 5th level. Beating 1 or 2 abbots is like playing. In the end, the abbots were scared, and no abbot took the initiative to run to the reincarnationists to show off. Except for the dead abbots, almost all the rest went to Earth to expand the territory. Only a few abbots are left on Mars, managing hundreds of millions of cockroaches. Seeing that the invaders had left, the Black Warriors thought they could finally live in peace. Who knew that Xiaoming would come out of retreat soon? The nightmare of the cockroach people began again. Before, even when fighting against B-level reincarnations, the Black Warriors could always find the opponent's traces, know where he is roughly. But Xiaoming is different. He put on an invisible uniform and the cockroaches couldn't see him at all. He was used to using guerrilla tactics, shooting and changing places, and the cockroaches couldn't catch his tail. The abbots thought of many strategies, but they still couldn't do anything to Xiaoming. They could only silently endure Xiaoming's harassment and ravage. Fortunately, Xiaoming only killed about 1,800 cockroaches every day. This is not very fatal to the cockroaches, just give birth to more. The total number of Martian Black Warriors is over 100 million. It is estimated that it will be difficult for Xiaoming to kill them all. Besides, Xiaoming is actually quite lazy. He comes out to fight gorillas every day, mostly to change his mood and pass the time. There is nothing to be unhappy about playing with Xiao Xiaoer. But the shadow clones always bring physical and mental fatigue to Xiaoming. So Xiaoming still needs to relax sometimes. Obviously, killing cockroaches can make Xiaoming feel good. Beating children on rainy days is just for fun. Anyway, there is nothing to do, so Xiaoming beats the cockroaches as a naughty child. But his damage to the cockroaches has never been serious. The cockroaches finally ignored him. You can do whatever you want. If any group of compatriots meet you, they will be unlucky. Xiaoming is like the AIDS of the cockroaches. There is no cure, but the lethality is limited. Until this day, the catastrophe officially came. The later generations of this world call it, Mars Doomsday Resident Evil Cockroach Extinction Event. On this day, T-Virus, an antidote plus Red's MO ability plus Insect King's fusion ability plus Xiaoming's source energy equals? The answer to this question finally appeared. Xiaoming gained the ability of Mars Virus. This also indicates that the end of the cockroach people on Mars has entered the countdown. Yin Xiaoming spent several days non-stop releasing a large number of Mars viruses everywhere on Mars. Then let it spread in the Martian atmosphere. The Mars virus is different from the T virus. Some people are immune to the T virus. But there are almost no immune to the Mars virus. Within 3 months after the virus was released, more than 100 million cockroach people died and turned into zombies again. Hunt down the few cockroach people who are not dead. After another month, all the black strongmen on Mars have turned into zombies. So Xiaoming has to release antidotes everywhere on Mars non-stop. Since then, Mars has become a planet full of cockroach corpses. This large number of corpses will become a stepping stone for the vigorous development of insect humans. The cockroach people are all dead, and Xiaoming does not need to harvest their deaths. What can be done by harvesting the undead soldiers? There are no enemies at all. These corpses can be regarded as nutrients for insect humans. However, the cockroach people are not completely extinct. They also left tens of thousands of cockroach egg cases. Protected by the egg sheath, most cockroach eggs survive tenaciously. This is even better, as the insect humans can raise the black strong as livestock. Xiaoming had moved from the demon locking tower to the agricultural system on Mars. Now it can be carried out openly on the surface of Mars. The agriculture of the insect humans is relatively developed in terms of crop planting, but it is far behind in terms of meat. In the demon locking tower, they relied on raising insects for food. Now they continue to raise insects. It's just that they used to raise tiny insects, but now they raise cockroaches that are taller than humans. Xiaoming himself can't eat cockroaches, but the insect humans and monsters don't mind at all. Monsters can eat them, let alone black strong. In fact, at this time, Xiaoming can completely consider coming out of the demon locking tower and returning to the real world. It's just that the planet in front of him is too rare, and only such sufficient food can guarantee the development of the insect-human population. Xiaoming really wants to know what it will look like after the insect humans develop thousands or tens of thousands. With such a rare opportunity, Xiaoming decided to stick to it. Finally, it was the 10th year. The number of insect humans had grown to more than 20,000. Green Xiaoming was vomiting eggs every day until he was exhausted. He couldn't hold on any longer. Developing to 100,000 people seemed to be an unattainable goal. Xiaoming had no choice but to give up. Among the insect humans, when the serial number reaches hundreds or thousands, high-level insect humans will appear. Generally, they are between levels 5 and 6. Only when the number is 100, 1000, or 10,000, the personal guards of the insect king are bred. Each of them is a 7th level existence like Zhangzhong. When the number is 100,000, Xiaoming is not sure what will be bred. This time, there is probably no chance to know. After having the second 7th level personal guard, the general can finally go to battle in person. There are no monsters in the demon locking tower that can compete with the personal guards. So they surrendered to the insect humans one after another. They voluntarily put on the penalty collar. After Xiaoming completely pacified the demon locking tower, he began to prepare for leaving. The monsters, according to their own wishes, some stayed in the community in the demon locking tower, and some came to Mars through Kunlun. It's just that the world of Mars aliens is a world dominated by technology, and supernatural energy is not very abundant. The monsters who are willing to come to Mars are generally those who particularly advocate freedom. The monsters who stay in the demon locking tower may care more about power. The living conditions on Mars are no less than those inside the demon locking tower. With Xiaoming's alchemy, a prosperous town was built on Mars. More than 20,000 insect humans, more than 20,000 monsters, and more than 20,000 undead. On the vast Mars, they began to live freely. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 356. Brother Lao Niu, where are you going to have fun after dinner? Do you want to go to the ring to practice a few tricks? Let me tell you, my insect saint cloth is powerful again. In a tavern in a certain town on Mars, Bugman asked Monster B when they were having dinner together. Who has time to fight with you? Don't you know what day it is today? Of course I went to chase the fairy sword. Linger was captured by the snake demon. It's so pitiful. In today's episode, Li Xiaoao and Lin Yuru should have rescued her. What will Xiao Litzi do if Linger is gone? Monster B had a sad look on his face, as if he was really worried about Zhao Linger. He sneered at Insect Man A's invitation to fight. Monster C, who was drinking alone at the next table, heard this and was a little dissatisfied. He turned around and interjected. What's wrong with Outlinger? We still have Yuuru, right? Xiaolinger should be saved, but when it comes to getting married, Xiaolitzi is the best match for our Yuuru. Monster B is a staunch supporter of Xiaolinger, how can he endure this? Immediately rebuttal. Who knows, there is someone faster than him. What about your Yuuru? Are you worthy of it? I won't even urinate and take a picture of your weasel face. Monster Ding slapped the table and yelled loudly. But these words hit too hard and were suspected of being a personal attack. Chang Grenwu, who was 2 tables away, stood up and shouted when he saw the injustice. What's so good about your donkey face? You still have the nerve to tell others. Everyone looked at each other coldly, and they were about to start a conflict. The tavern's bug man innkeeper was used to this. He raised his hand and released a spiritual connection, connecting the spirits of everyone in the tavern. Communication in a spiritual connection is completely different from verbal communication. If you act impulsively or act against your will, it cannot be established here. Monster Ding was obviously acting impulsively. Even if he continued to speak harshly, his spirit could be exposed, and he actually knew that personal attacks were wrong. This kind of mental exposure is sometimes more embarrassing than being soft-spoken. The hypocrisy of that idea was put in front of everyone. Similarly, whether it is Monster B who likes Xiaolinger or Monster C who likes Lin Yuuru, in fact they also know that the TV series they watch is fake. Arguing over fictional characters and stories seems pointless. The story of Fairy Sword actually happened in this world, but Xiaoming didn't tell it, and no one asked him. Everyone thought that Fairy Sword, like other stories, was also fake. Besides, there is actually no way to compare the good and bad between 2 individuals. Everyone has their own strengths, and no one can say that he is better than another person in all aspects. And this idea is a very arrogant idea. Even if A can be better than B, there will definitely be C who is better than A. He is only better than one person, so what is there to be proud of? The practice of belittling others in a certain aspect and then raising oneself up is both ignorant and shallow. This kind of thing happens often in the human world. Xiaoming himself is no exception. But in the world of Mars, where you can communicate mentally but cannot lie mentally, this kind of thing is becoming less and less common. Of course, for humans who are accustomed to hypocrisy, this kind of life is simply hell. I will no longer be able to pretend to be 13 in the future. However, in the world of monsters, lies are much less common than among humans, but not none. Insect humans have almost never been exposed to lies since birth. They like the real world more. Xiaoming didn't know what kind of mentality led him to put the story of the fairy sword he had experienced on the screen. This story is due to the intervention of Xiaoming and the interference of other reincarnations. Compared with the original work, it has already changed beyond recognition. But since it was something I experienced personally, the emotional expressions are relatively real. It is several times better than those copied by Xiaoming before. The TV series Legend of Sword and Fairy has been highly sought after by the audience since its release. The 4 main protagonists, including Zhang Xiaoming, and the main supporting characters all have many fans. In addition to the entertainment brought by movies and television, Xiaoming also needs to consider how to continue to maintain the martial spirit of bugs and monsters. There are no more wars on Mars. The fighting prowess of the monsters and bugs was nowhere to be used. Although I could occasionally hunt some of the bred black beasts, it was still very boring. Xiaoming felt that this was not going to work, so he held the Mars First Martial Arts Tournament. Xiaoming doesn't even remember who he heard it from. In the first conference, most bugs and monsters above level 4 participated. The occasion was unprecedented. The tourney was unanimously approved by all the inhabitants of Mars. So this conference became a tradition and continues on Mars as an annual event. If it weren't for being really homesick, Xiaoming would really want to continue staying on Mars. Let's see what this weird society will develop into in the future. But Xiao Ming had no choice but to keep his real clone. The real clone was born with the Insect King as the original version. After Xiao Ming leaves this world, he will regain his ability to lay eggs and continue to develop insect humans. Xiao Ming really wanted to take away all the insect humans. If you can't bring it back to Pangu, you can always put it on the territory of the Zerg in the Chu galaxy, right? But Xiao Ming found that it was impossible to do it. This is the first time Xiao Ming discovered this problem. Xiao Ming's Guangmingding and Kunlun are unable to carry too many high-level insect humans. Guangmingding and Kunlun were originally used to store things. Xiao Ming himself, his sister, brother Wen and other people or units have all entered Guangmingding. Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu lived in Guangmingding for many days. The space did not appear to be unable to bear the phenomenon. So Xiao Ming never thought this was a problem. Later, when the insect people migrated from the demon locking tower to Mars, Xiao Ming found something wrong. When the 7th level guards passed through Kunlun, it caused unstable fluctuations in Kunlun space. The 7th level guards were a bit too powerful. Some people may ask, Zhangzhong, a 7th level insect man, has always stayed in the demon locking tower. The demon locking tower has not been unstable. Kunlun can break through the space blockade of the demon locking tower, so why can't it withstand the existence of the 7th level? This is a question of specialization. The demon locking tower imprisons monsters by using demon transforming water and immortal spells. The space blockade is only part of it. There are not many monsters who are good at space ability, so the demon locking tower is just a little bit in the specialty of closed space. Xiao Ming's Kunlun can be opened in the demon locking tower, not because of how strong Kunlun's space ability is. It's because Lingzhu's authority is high enough, and Lingzhu and the demon locking tower have some history. Since they are our own people, the control is not that strict. This does not mean that Kunlun is better than the demon locking tower. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 357. When Green Xiaoming stepped into Kunlun, the two Xiaomings left the mission world together. Entered the settlement space. Now Xiaoming couldn't tell whether he left the world of Legend of Sword and Fairy 1 or the world of the Martian aliens. It is estimated that even King Xingla couldn't tell this clearly. Most of the subordinates have been left on Mars or in the locking demon tower. Only a few were chosen by Xiaoming to leave with him. Only Zhangzhong, a rank 7 guard, was brought back from Kunlun. In the past 10 years, Kunlun has grown to about 300 m. If Xiaoming had fed it with all his strength, it should have been even bigger. But later there were many things that distracted him and occupied some of his mental power. Kunlun's ability can probably carry a rank 7 insect man or 7 or 8 rank 6 insect men. In fact, Xiaoming prefers to bring a few more rank 6 insect men. This is not to say that Zhangzhong, a rank 7, is useless. A rank 7 master is of course very useful. What Xiaoming is really worried about is the Zerg's mental power ocean. After the blessing of the spiritual sea, the 7th level Zhangzhong will definitely be stronger. Xiaoming was afraid that Kunlun would no longer be able to accommodate him. It would be a pity that such a powerful fighting force could not be brought into the reincarnation space. It would be different if a few 6th level insects were added. After the 6th level insects were blessed with spiritual power, their strength might reach half the level of 7th level. Not only did it meet Xiaoming's needs, but Kunlun could probably accommodate 2 or 3 more. Unfortunately, the Insect King's intention could not be changed by the 3 7th level guards. At least one of the guards must follow the Insect King closely, which is the iron rule of the Insect Man's guards. It is also a characteristic inherited from the Chimera ant, and Xiaoming will naturally discover this in the future. The guards would rather not accept the blessing of spiritual power, but also protect the Insect King. This spirit still touched Xiaoming. Later facts also proved that the choice of the guards was correct. When Xiao Ming returned to the Chu galaxy, he found that only the newly born Zerg could receive the blessing of the Zerg spiritual sea. Because the newly born Zerg were still ignorant, they could be instilled with spiritual power. The grown Zerg humans could not be strengthened by the spiritual sea. We can't say that Xiao Ming's worries were completely groundless. In terms of the known conditions at the time, Xiao Ming's concerns were reasonable. It can only be said that man's plans are not as good as God's plans. Kunlun's development potential is super awesome. With the 3 spiritual beads of earth, thunder, and fire as the foundation, it continuously releases energy to expand the space. Kunlun, which has been growing for nearly 10 years, is not much smaller than Guangmingding. Guangmingding is now only close to 400 m. Kunlun has an independent energy source, but Guangmingding relies entirely on Xiao Ming's telekinesis. The gap is obvious. And Xiao Ming still has a lot of uses for the potential of telekinesis. He can only invest a small amount into Guangmingding. It is conceivable that Guangmingding's growth potential is definitely limited. But the future development of Kunlun is limitless. Xiao Ming couldn't help showing off, very happy. Now that Kunlun has accommodated Zhangzhong, it is a little full. Therefore, Kunlun has almost become Zhangzhong's private apartment, and no other living things can be placed in it. The carrying capacity of Guangmingding is 1 level lower than Kunlun. It can carry a 6th level master, or 6 or 7 5th level masters. It is obvious that Xiao Ming can't put a 6th level insect man in Guangmingding. Xiao Xiao'er, Xiao Hong, Xiaolu, Xiajia, etc., do you still want them? Xiajia is a 5th level transformer, with 2 forms, humanoid and armored bulletproof vehicle. Xiaolu, the tree demon, has made great progress in the locking demon tower. Her growth spreads throughout Xiao Ming's entire insect nest on a certain floor of the locking demon tower. Her body is only at the primary level of the 4th level. If the huge body in the insect nest is counted, her combat power is definitely comparable to the advanced level of the 4th level. Even the 5th level enemies are not impossible to deal with. Most of the plants in the insect nest are just controlled by Xiaolu. Xiaolu's daughter is long and thin, and it is attached to these plants. So Xiaoming rebuilt an independent modern building. Xiaolu took her body back from the insect nest and attached it completely to the building. Then she was taken into Guangmingding together. She almost filled up the space in Guangmingding. Inside the building, Xiaolu's body quickly crawled all over the floors, walls, and ceilings of all the rooms. Even the bathroom was not spared. Xiaoming smiled bitterly and let her go. In this building in Guangmingding, everyone can live a modern life. All that is lacking is the lack of gravity. However, gravity can be barely simulated. The floor of the building is made of iron. If you put on magnetic shoes, you will be sucked in, just like in a spaceship. It's better than nothing. As for the remaining gaps outside the building, they are left for Xiaolu to grow. With alchemy, you can renovate the building at will in the future. Xiaoming put the other items and people into the small building. Xiaolu continued to be Xiaoming's housekeeper. After 10 years of training in the 100 Ghosts box, Xiaohong's combat power is almost at level 5. The 100 ghosts under her are all in the middle and high level of level 3. Fortunately, they are all collected in the 100 Ghosts box and do not occupy the quota of Guangmingding. Xiao Xiao is now more than 6 years old, and his physical growth has slowed down. He is only 30 centimeters tall now. His attributes are only level 3 advanced. But his mind seems to have not grown much, and his speech is still half clear. He knows how to play all day long. Xiaoming guessed that Xiao Xiao was probably an immortal. 6 years was too short. He might not reach adulthood until decades or even hundreds of years later. Before leaving, Xiaoming deliberately teased Xiao Xiao and asked him if he was willing to stay on Mars and not go with Dida. Xiao Xiao did not cry and make a scene as expected, nor did he kiss or do something to please him. Instead, he rolled his eyes at Xiao Ming. I don't know who he learned bad things from. The images of Xiao Hong, Xiao Lu, and Xiao Jia are quite special. It is not easy to explain if they appear in the settlement space. The key is that if they arouse the suspicion of other reincarnations, they will not ask directly. Xiao Ming can't explain even if he wants to. But he will definitely be vigilant or even targeted by others. It is better to have less trouble than more. It is better for Xiao Hong and the other three to stay in Guangmingding. Together with Xiao Xiao, this will occupy a small half of the quota of Guangmingding. Xiao Ming can only bring 3 more level 5 insect people or monsters. Otherwise, it is easy to burst Guangmingding. Xiao Ming is actually not short of these combat power. Zhang Zhong was enough. The insects and monsters were living well on Mars, and Xiao Ming didn't want to disturb them. Even the leader of the undead, General Ghost, was left on Mars. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 358. When Zhang Xiaoming left the alien world of Mars, the world of Fairy Sword 1, there were only 2 newcomers in the team, Zhang Zhong and Xiao Xiao. A top master and a burden. The reason why he didn't bring more masters was because he finally had some confidence. In the past few years, Xiaoming, thinks he, has made significant progress in his personal strength. Thanks to the efforts of the shadow clones. Xiaoming's various supernatural energies have increased significantly. The proficiency of all skills has been greatly improved. The shadow clones are, after all, copies of Xiaoming, a loser otaku, and they are not really very hard-working. But in the end, the advantage of numbers is too great. After a few years, they have accumulated impressive results. The slight improvement of physical attributes is nothing, and the ability to skillfully use various skills is what really makes Xiaoming powerful. Due to personality problems, Xiaoming could only exert about 20% of his full strength before, now it should be no problem to exert 50%. The personal combat effectiveness has at least doubled. But this is not Xiaoming's biggest improvement. His progress is always in the field of miscellaneous knowledge. After the witch subdued the shadow clones and conducted in-depth research on the undead army, Xiaoming's death harvest has undergone new changes. In the past, Xiaoming's death harvest was all the most common skeleton soldiers and zombies. Occasionally, they would carry bone weapons. These years of research have changed this. Most of the undead soldiers that Xiaoming harvests now are enhanced versions of the undead. Skeleton soldiers will have various weapons. Mostly swords and guns, supplemented by bows and arrows. Sometimes they will wear helmets and armor. Their weapons and armor are all made of bones and strengthened by the breath of death. Their texture is no less than modern steel. Most of the zombies will become rotten zombies, throwing their own rotten meat and even internal organs with viruses to attack and pollute the enemy. The motto of the rotten zombie is, even if I can't kill you, I will disgust you to death. Hang your intestines on you and see if you can bear it. In order to improve the combat effectiveness of zombies, Xiaoming deliberately strengthened the viruses carried by zombies. Now, the zombies harvested by Xiaoming carry a weakened version of the Mars virus. It can only be transmitted by contact, not by air. Being hit by the rotten meat thrown by zombies, or being scratched by zombies directly, will infect the Mars virus. If the poisoning is deep, you will die naturally. But after death, the body will not become a zombie. Xiaoming has not thought about becoming a doomsday dealer who creates biochemical crises everywhere. The enhancement of death harvesting has undoubtedly raised Xiaoming's team battle ability to a new level. But the restrictions of the undead are still very large. In most environments, the undead are still a kind of existence that everyone shouts and beats. In many worlds, once Xiaoming summons the undead, he will probably be regarded as a member of the evil camp. This is the case in the novice world Resident Evil 1. The protagonists Alice and Matt saw Xiaoming's undead troops and regarded the undead as enemies. In the end, they also died tragically at the hands of the undead army. When Xiao Ming knew it, she and the two of them had become corpses waiting to be harvested. Now Matt has grown into a level 3 ghost soldier and lives in the 100 Ghosts box. Alice, a level 3 skeleton knifeman, lives in Bright Summit. Imagine if these two had not died at the hands of the undead, but had cooperated with Xiao Ming. Then Xiao Ming would definitely have completed this novice mission better. What a pity. Besides, the death harvest also requires corpses, and not all worlds have a large number of corpses waiting for Xiao Ming to harvest. Xiao Ming himself will definitely not kill a large number of innocent people and then harvest them. Xiao Ming is not so crazy. So Xiao Ming thinks he must have more kinds of cannon fodder. Mind beasts and shadow clones are both good choices. But they are more like executives or officers, not suitable to be cannon fodder. The same is true for insect humans. To be honest, no matter how suitable the next world is, Xiao Ming probably won't vigorously develop insect humans. In recent years, Xiao Ming has vomited eggs so much that he wants to vomit blood. I am really a little hurt. On the one hand, I am hurt by vomiting, on the other hand, I am also hurt by my heart. In the end, more than 20,000 insect people are equivalent to Xiao Ming's children. Leaving the world of reincarnation means abandoning all these children. How can I not be sad? It is because Zerg people do not have the same passionate personal feelings as humans. Zerg people have almost no emotional cells, so Xiao Ming can leave with a cruel heart. But even if Xiao Ming is a heartless and rough man, he will still be sad after experiencing such a thing. After every failure, Xiao Ming will not breed Zerg people in large numbers in the world of reincarnation unless it is absolutely necessary. If he wants to breed, he will go to the Chu Galaxy, the territory of the Zerg. After thinking it over again and again, Xiao Ming locked his eyes on puppets. Puppet materials are nothing more than wood and metal, and almost no world will lack these things. Besides, he can do alchemy, so he can make them himself if he really doesn't have them. Puppets are not undead, they are relatively neutral. Both the good camp and the evil camp can accept the existence of puppets. If Xiao Ming is a puppeteer, it is also easy for him to deal with the characters in the plot. It's just that Xiao Ming's attainments in puppets are too low. In the Magic Planet game, Xiao Ming's character, the researcher, can only make a first-order puppet. The explorer did learn the blueprint for a second-order puppet, but unfortunately he had just learned it and had not practiced much. It is hard to say whether it can be realized in reality. It's just level 1, cannon fodder doesn't need to be so demanding. Let's study it first. In the world of Xianjian 1, Xiao Ming once met a reincarnation named Hattori Jizang. He followed the path of Naruto. When trading with him, Xiao Ming got a broken puppet. It has been in Guangmingding and has no use. When Xiao Ming was interested in developing in the direction of puppets, he put the broken puppet into the textbook for analysis. Soon after, he successfully obtained some of the techniques for making and operating puppets in the world of Naruto. The concept of making and using puppets is different in different worlds. The purpose of puppets in Magic Planets tends to be cannon fodder. Therefore, the production and operation are relatively rough, and victory depends entirely on quantity. In combat, the simple combat intelligence given to puppets by magic is relied on. It is similar to a programmed automatic robot. The puppet technique in Naruto is an important category of ninjutsu. Almost no ninja uses puppets as cannon fodder. Scorpion is a special case. Each puppet is almost carefully designed and manufactured, and the control also requires the ninja to use chakra for delicate operations. The puppet itself has no combat intelligence and relies entirely on the control of the ninja. It is more like a mecha. Xiao Ming combined these two technologies, combined with the modern mechanical manufacturing process and hacker programming technology he had learned, as well as supernatural powers such as telekinesis. Xiao Ming created, pieced together, his own puppetry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 359. Zhang Xiaoming's first mass-produced puppetry model, Z-Series Mechanical Soldier. There are only two models, Z1, Z2, and Z3, for now. This technology is called Z-Series puppetry. The numbers 1, 2, and 3 after Z represent the ranks of the mechanical soldier's physical attributes. The body of the mechanical soldier is made of the most common steel in modern times. It is easy to obtain and consumes little energy or mental power. The key is that it will not aid the enemy. Xiaoming can use aviation materials to make puppets. But it will be troublesome if the enemy uses it. Ordinary materials are better. If steel is not suitable, hardwood, plastic, etc. can also be used here. The more common, the better. But soil and stone cannot. This is Xiaoming's inherent thinking. Xiaoming has always felt that soil and stone can be summoned into elemental people. But they cannot be made into puppets. This is a kind of prejudice. However, since it is an inherent thought, it is difficult to forcibly reverse it. Summer insects cannot talk about ice. No matter how it is described, it still cannot understand what ice is. When it sees winter, it will understand. Similarly, when Xiaoming reaches a higher level and has a wider range of experience, he can easily overcome this prejudice. The body of a mechanical soldier made of ordinary steel already has the attributes of a second-level soldier. The attributes of a mechanical soldier made of wood and other materials are only first level. If it is made of aviation materials, it can barely be considered a third-level soldier. The joints and other linkages of the Z-Series mechanical soldiers are combined by magic. This reduces the requirements for the mechanics. In terms of combat intelligence, the combat intelligence given to puppets by magic is really weak. Therefore, Xiaoming used his mind ability and programming ability. He made the Z-Series Mind Beast Brain. Its combat level is far higher than the intelligence level of magic puppetry. Z-Series Mind Beast Brain. There is no doubt that there are also differences between Z1, Z2, and Z3. They correspond to bodies of different levels. Z-Series puppetry has different combat methods for different environments. The most common tactic is open the door and release the dog. That is, Xiaoming usually stores a certain number of mechanical soldier bodies in Guangmingding. When you need to fight, start the last step of Z-Series puppetry. Put the Z-Mind Beast Brain on the head of the mechanical soldier. This group of mechanical soldiers will be quickly activated and immediately put into battle. The advantage of mechanical soldiers is that they have no effect on Guangmingding. No matter how many bodies there are, they are just a pile of dead things. When they are used, they are given combat intelligence on the spot. After the battle, cancel the Mind Beast Brain, and they will immediately become a pile of dead things again. They can be put back into Guangmingding for storage. This setting is obviously a solution designed to solve the problem of the number of insect people that the space can carry. When the mechanical man is still at a low level, there is no effect. Whether the body after the high level can still be stored as a dead thing, we will have to wait and see. Xiaoming thinks that if a dragon's corpse is contained, it will definitely be a burden on Guangmingding or Kunlun. But the burden brought by the corpse is less than that of a living dragon, right? If so, puppets will have a bright future in the future. If there are no mechanical soldiers in Guangmingding, you can also cast beings into soldiers. As long as there are materials in the environment. If you don't have any, you can throw materials out from Guangmingding, or use alchemy to make materials. Then use the full version of Z-Series puppetry on the materials. Under the effect of magic, the materials will automatically transform and combine into the body of the mechanical soldier, and be given the brain of the mind beast. These materials will turn into Z-series mechanical soldiers and go into battle directly. This spell is actually very similar to Death Harvest. The difference is that the materials are different. Death Harvest can only be issued to corpses. Z-series puppetry can be used on a pile of steel, a pile of wood, or even dead branches and leaves on the ground. As you can imagine, this move consumes a lot of energy. Its combat power will be weaker than Death Harvest, but there are fewer restrictions. It can be launched almost at any time. It is more widely applicable. Of course, a large area of dead branches and leaves, even if they are turned into mechanical soldiers, are probably a group of 0-level Combat 5 scum. For the time being, there are only 3 types of soldiers that can be produced by Z-series puppetry, which are infantry, crossbowmen, and scouts that Xiaoming is more familiar with. However, Xiaoming naturally expanded the infantry greatly. Sword and shield soldiers, spear soldiers, broadsword soldiers, short sword soldiers, everything is available. In fact, Xiaoming also thought about developing puppets in the form of beasts, but the technical barriers to be overcome are too great. It's not that it can't be done, but Xiaoming doesn't think it's necessary. He estimated that there must be beast-shaped puppets in the game. He can just copy and paste them when the time comes. How convenient. In the past few years, Xiaoming has been looking forward to the analysis results of the fire source fragments. I believe it will definitely contribute to his puppet technology. But there has been no movement so far. The difficulty of analyzing the fire source fragments is surprisingly high. We can only see the result in the future. Xiaoming shook his head and sighed helplessly. Puppetry can only be like this for the time being. The regret in puppetry is compensated by Taoism. Xiaoming has made considerable progress in Taoism in recent years. Xiaoming's subordinates are all monsters. Without authentic Taoist disciples, it is impossible for him to obtain the method of the golden elixir. But some of the monsters have been entangled with Taoists for many years. They know a little about some small tricks in Taoism. Even some demon arts are imitating some Taoist arts. Learning by analogy is of great help to Xiaoming. There is a magic trick that Xiaoming likes very much, and he did not hesitate to use the ability of private tutor for it. LLL Omega, fortunately, the monster who taught Xiaoming was not familiar with the world and had no understanding of uniform culture. Otherwise, it would be really embarrassing. 3 heads and 6 arms method, consume a certain amount of spiritual power to obtain 2 heads and 4 arms-like entities, and combine them with the original 1 head and 2 arms to form 3 heads and 6 arms. 3 heads can take care of all directions without dead ends, 6 arms work together to meet the enemy, and the combat power is instantly increased by more than 3 times. This trick naturally consumes a lot of spiritual power. And it requires coordinating 3 heads and 6 arms at the same time. If there is no practitioner with considerable talent, learning this trick is just a case of imitating others and learning to walk in HD. Not only is it useless, but it is harmful. However, this difficulty is not a problem for Xiaoming at all. Xiaoming has been practicing controlling multiple arms for a long time. 3 heads and 6 arms are a perfect match with Naga swordsmanship. Although it consumes a lot of spiritual power, Xiaoming has no shortage of energy. Even if he uses all his strength all day, he will not be short of spiritual power. Moreover, this move can be used by both Xiaomings. For this reason, Maomoer also specially adjusted the settings of Hot-Blooded Neza and arranged more helmets and armors as backup. Now he is not afraid of close combat with others. Well, I still feel a little guilty. Xiaoming is no longer an ordinary loser, he is simply a patient with advanced loser cancer. There is no hope. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 360. There is also an interesting story about the 3-headed, 6-arm technique. When Yin Xiaoming used this spell, everything was normal. He played the Naga six-armed sword technique for fun. But when the Insect King used this spell, Xiaoming was so smart that he actually played a trick. The other two heads that appeared were no longer ordinary heads. One rolled his eyes, the other had a pair of red-eyed Sherinan. These two pairs of eyes are the specialties of the Naruto world. In the event of the Bull King's summons 5 years ago, Xiaoming exchanged them from Uchiha Seigo and Hyuga Nengo. At that time, the Insect King directly absorbed the eyes. This genetic information was quietly retained by Green Xiaoming. There are not too many monsters with Byakugan and Sherinan. Each bloodline is probably only given to a dozen insect people. I want to see the potential of these two pairs of eyes, but these insect people don't pay much attention to Sherinan and Byakugan. The original telekinesis and microcosm of the insect people are already very strong, and with the bloodline of some monsters, there are too many abilities that can be developed. Although Xiaoming also taught chakra to these more than 20 insect people, their development of Sherinan and Byakugan is not as good as Uchiha Sasuke and Hyuga Neji during the Chunin exam. It also did not bring Xiaoming much useful experience. So from then on, these two bloodlines were sealed in the gene bank of the Insect King. Until Xiaoming learned the three-headed six-arm technique from the monster, he had an idea and merged these two bloodlines into the two extra heads. Forget it if the children don't care about it, we will use it ourselves. But after installing these two pairs of eyes, Xiaoming also knew why the insect people didn't care about it. The effect was really ordinary. The Byakugan does have the ability to observe the flow of chakra in other people's bodies, but that's all. It can't see spiritual power, telekinesis, etc. The scope of application is limited. This is also a problem caused by not being certified by space. The Byakugan that has been certified by space can see other supernatural energies. Otherwise, the Byakugan really can't be sold at a high price. As for the long-sightedness of the Byakugan, it is useless to Xiaoming. Xiaoming's Madoka can see farther than the Byakugan, the demonic clairvoyance can see even farther. As for the mental scanning, well, let's not talk about it to discourage others. The treatment of the three Magatama Sherinan is similar. With the powerful quality of the Insect King, the Sherinan is directly pushed to the three Magatama. The reason why there is no stronger Mangekyo Sherinan is not that the attribute is not enough, but that Xiaoming does not know that there is a next form. Although the three Magatama Sherinan has super dynamic vision, Xiaoming's Madoka and condensation are not bad. The Sherinan can only be regarded as icing on the cake. This result is completely within Xiaoming's expectations. I can't say how disappointed I am. Among the monsters in the Demon Locking Tower, there are also some races with strong bloodline power. The Insect King did not use himself to merge their bloodline. But he chose these two pairs of eyes that don't seem to be very strong. Is Xiaoming crazy? Of course not. There are two reasons for this. One reason is that Xiaoming had this intuition unconsciously on a whim. He thought that these two pairs of eyes might be of great use in the future. He has always trusted this intuition. Especially after learning the small universe, Xiaoming's intuition has become more accurate. Another reason. Eyes are things in the reincarnation space. Obviously, the Naruto world has a high status in the reincarnation space and its appearance rate is also very high. Then there must be props in the space to strengthen these two pairs of eyes. With your own financial resources, I believe it is not difficult to get them. The development of potential is guaranteed. And the bloodline of monsters is another matter. Although it looks good now, it is difficult to strengthen. The improvement of monster bloodline may require hundreds or thousands of years of practice. Who can bear this? So Xiaoming chose the White Eye and Sherinan, which seem to have weaker potential, which is also a helpless move. In addition to the 3 heads and 6 arms, there is another kind of magic that Xiaoming attaches great importance to self-explosion. This magic that harms oneself and others has some origins. It is said that there is a feud between monsters and human monks. The source of their hatred is long unknown. It is probably because they are not of our race, so their hearts must be different, right? Human monks always accuse monsters of cannibalism, which is barbaric, evil, and cruel. Among monsters, human evil deeds have long been circulated. It is believed that humans often hunt monsters, in fact, just to get the monsters' bodies as materials. Therefore, this kind of magic called self-destruction has become popular among monsters. Once they are trapped in a deadly situation, they will detonate all the monster power in their body. Let the greedy humans get nothing. Maybe they can even drag someone down with them. After Xiao Ming carefully studied this magic, he found that not only the monster power can self-destruct. Almost all supernatural energy can self-destruct. Only source energy and mental power are exceptions. The principle of self-destruction with monster power cannot detonate these two uncles. Why did Xiao Ming learn this kind of magic that harms himself and others? Everyone will understand at a glance. Isn't it because there are many clones and they can be resurrected? This magic can be used by Xiao Ming's various shadow clones and mind beasts, each of which can be turned into a bomb. It is guaranteed to make the enemy vomit 3 liters of blood. The power of self-detonation is extremely strong, and the number can be stacked. If you encounter a difficult enemy, you can use a large number of clones to blow him to death. Even if you can't kill him, at least you can let the clones die with dignity. When the Bull King summoned, many of Xiao Ming's shadow clones were beaten to death by the cockroaches. That scene was too tragic. It would have been great if he had learned to self-destruct at that time. The power of the clone's self-destruction cannot be underestimated. Xiao Ming has tested it and found that it can at least blow down a small building within 10 floors. Xiao Ming's original body has more supernatural energy. If the original body self-destructs, it will probably be equivalent to a small atomic bomb explosion, right? It has not been tested yet, and Xiao Ming has no data to refer to. I think it must be strong. But the trick of the original body self-destruction can only be used in the reincarnation world. Don't commit suicide in reality. Only in the reincarnation world can you be resurrected. Although Xiao Ming's resurrection stones cannot be said to be unlimited, you can buy them as much as you want. It's no big deal to waste 100 or 80. Xiao Ming's number of resurrections is unmatched by most reincarnations. This is the confidence of his self-destruction. He can do what many reincarnations can't do, that is, he is really not afraid of death. At first, Xiao Ming relied on his fearlessness to scare off the tree demon grandma, a first-class plot character. He even gave Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu to be his maids. Now Xiao Ming is not only fearless, but also has the ability to self-destruct. Let's mourn for the plot characters who will be enemies with Xiao Ming in the future. You are unlucky to have met such a wretched and cheating guy.